We got a shift in the marketplace. And I want to start with the thing that we are getting deluged with questions about at our Team Clark Consumer Action Center, Series I savings bonds. The reset I told you was coming. I told you about in April. It's here. And if you buy new Series I for inflation, savings bonds, you're now earning 4.3%. Now you go back just a year ago, people were earning right at 10, just a little below 10%. And then 6 months ago, it reset because it resets every 6 months. The Series I savings bonds were earning 6.6.5, whatever. And now down to 4.3. So in our own lives, most of us, I'm old enough to remember when we had really bad inflation, nearly galloping inflation in the United States. But for most people today, this is the only bout of ugly inflation, because we have inflation in year in and year out, but ugly inflation, the only one you've experienced in your life. And so there's a lot of trauma to us with that. And so it's hard to see that inflation actually is declining significantly. And the Series I savings bonds ride the wave of inflation up or down. So Series I savings bonds were a phenomenal deal for people who bought them when the interest rate was nearly 10%. But remember, the rate resets every 6 months. And people buying them now, if you buy them today, you're going to earn 4.3%. But if you hold Series I savings bonds for a long time, one of the weird things about the way they work is, it's crazy to say, but somebody who buys one of today's at 4.3% versus somebody who bought when they were nearly 10%, the person buying the 4.3 over the years will end up with more money in their pocket than somebody who bought the ones at nearly 10% last year. How could that possibly be? Because when the U.S. Treasury sold us, and you're allowed to buy up to $10,000 of these per person each year, if you get a tax refund, you can do up to another $5,000 into them in a year. When they were sold a year ago, what the promise was from the Treasury was you'd always get, for a period, if you can hold them up to 30 years, you would get whatever the inflation rate is, reset every 6 months. Now, if you buy them, in order to encourage people to buy them, you get the inflation rate of the time plus 0.9 of a point bonus. So you're always nearly a point ahead of the rate of inflation. So this is now where the almost 10% of a year ago, that became a short-term benefit. I mean, people who bought them a year ago can sell now and give up 90 days. Don't do that. Let's wait till the rate resets to even lower amount, and then the 90 days you're forfeiting is at a much lower rate, so the pain of the 90 days isn't as much. That's a complicated thing that I know is going to generate questions. But the advantage of the ones today, the one thing that's great with your savings is if they can keep up with inflation. The Series I savings bonds being sold now not only give you the rate of inflation, but you get a bonus point on top, or almost 0.9. That's a good deal. And weirdly, a better deal than what we had with the headline popping number of nearly 10%, when you couldn't earn anything close to that on savings. Ironically enough, today, right now, you can earn more on a 1-year CD. You can earn more on a 2-year CD, 3, 4, 5. All are paying a higher rate, than what the Series I savings bond you'd buy today would earn you. That's why we're going back the last two buying periods, Series I savings bonds were a strategy for potentially earning a decent amount for a shorter period of time. Today, I bonds are back to their historical purpose, which is having protection against inflation, I for inflation, plus the bonus for as long as you want to hold them, preferably a long time if you buy one now, with that 0.9 bonus. Now, if you do want to buy CDs, the big push, if you look at any online ad, if you still look at a physical newspaper, they're all pushing one-year CDs or 15-month CDs or 13-month CDs. They're all really pushing great rates on shorter-term CDs, and by great, I mean somewhere around 5%, 5.25%, somewhere in the fives, unless you go to a big bank, in which case they're happy to pay you 1/100th of 1%. But the smart money looks at 5-year CDs. See, the inflation trend is going down, down, down. Still too high, but it's going down. Grocery prices are actually going down overall right now after we had brutal price inflation in the supermarket. The inflationary cycle that we've been in is still with us, but much less dangerous than it was. It doesn't mean the work's done. We've got to get inflation back to a lower level than it is right now. But the trend on inflation is your friend, which is why I'm looking right now at the bank rate list of best rates on 5-year CDs. And they're capping out generally at 4.5%. The 1-year CD paying as much as 5.5%. So you're thinking, why would I tie money up for 5 years at 4.5 when I can tie it up for a year at 5 point something? The reason is the inflationary trends suggest, and the slowing economy suggest, that the odds really favor that a year from now, the CD rates are going to be a lot lower. And the 5-year gives you the ability to know that for the next 5 years, you will earn 4.5% more or less, depending on where you go. 4.5% FDIC insured is great. So this is a time where I'm saying earn less and it will earn you more than earning more, because ultimately that will earn you less. Because if we were in a time of expectations of rising inflation, I would tell you to go short. But in a time of expectations of lower inflation and a slowing economy, I'd tell you to go long. The compromise, the ladder. And I talked about the ladder recently, Krista. The idea that you divide your money into equal piles of 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, and 5-year CDs, and then you're splitting the difference. You're getting some really, for savings, a long-term thing of 5 years, and then each gradient back to 1. That would be the way to split the difference.